Hello and welcome to Who Dares Wobbles.
I am your host, Mike B. It's been a little while, hopefully not so long now for you. So, quick catch up. The tooth is out, which was in the long term relatively painless. I will say they were over enthusiastic dentists that I had in that. I've had a tooth extracted before wherein I went in, they jab you, you go to the waiting room, you wait 10 minutes, you come back up and then they do the thing, you don't feel anything. This guy, clearly on the timetable, jabbed me and then he went at it, which resulted in me gripping the chair, white knuckle, with my legs braced up on it, the nurse holding my head while he was pulling the tooth out while I felt most of it. On the plus side, he was very quick. The last one I had out took about 45 minutes to extract, and I felt like I'd been beaten to death numerous times the night before. So it was faster. It was out in barely a minute, maybe 2 minutes. The after effects of that wasn't so bad, and I've stopped taking all the horrific fucking drugs I was on. And we worked out mainly that I lost nearly 2 stone in weight because I wasn't really eating, and the pain and the drugs fucked me up, so I couldn't really want to fucking eat anyway. I had no appetite. So what a carry on that was all been. So much so I lost so much weight. I wear a pair of my wife's trousers into work the other day and didn't even notice it. Mind you, I think that was also to do with the drugs as well. But I pulled that off. Anyway, so there we go. We've overshared at this point, I feel. That's, what have I played? Played stuff. Oh, by the way, I will say, Baxter's in the room. He's down there. He's been a good boy. So long may it continue. Yes, you've been a good boy. We'll see if that disrupts video recording. Played. So I played most recently, and I'll go from there. We played over the last weekend or so. Is one I dug up because I've kind of wanted to start digging into stuff I've maybe not really played enough or not been played for a while. So yeah, I thought, you know what, let's dig into that. So one I picked up, pulled out again, was Quarriors from WizKids. It's from Mike Elliott and Eric Lang. It's Lang's one of his early designs. It is basically a deck builder, but with dice. Lots of fucking dice. There is some expansions in here. And it's always one that appealed me, and I had it, and I've got a couple of expansions. In fact, I got a doozy of a deal on eBay the other day, which picked up an expansion I didn't have, Quamageddon, which had 2 other expansions and the base game in it. So I did rather well out of that. Thank you very much for $5. Anyway, Quarriors. You've not played it. It's a dice deck building game. What you essentially do is you have a set of cards out on a tableau and in front of you. Everyone's buying from. They have the dice that they represent. They've got the dice faces at the bottom of the cards. Those dice are placed on each of the cards. I think it's 5 dice in each one. On those cards, it tells you what the abilities are. And the cool thing what Quarriors did was you've got a deck of creatures, spells, and other stuff that comes in as you get into the game and expansions. And there's about 4 versions of each of the creatures or spells. So when you deal the tableau at the start of the game, it's always randomized. It will have differing powers to the different dice, what the card represent. Basic idea of the thing is, and it's kind of this evolved into, this was Dice Masters, the prequel to Dice Masters and Marvel Dice Masters and all that. They took the kind of basic concepts of this and kind of tweaked it into that, if you ever played that. Anyway, yeah, the basic idea is it's like a deck builder. You're buying stuff, but you buy actual dice that represent either the money you're going to use in the game or creatures, or have abilities, dice faces for magic and stuff. And you're essentially spending liquidity, the cost, the gold that you're earning off some dice every round to basically pop dice out that represent creatures that will then batter your opponents. And whoever reaches so many points at a certain point in time will win the game. That's it. The Quarriors is always one I really enjoyed. It always seemed better at 2 maybe. It does play at 4. For so long since I played it, I remember the bigger problem I had with this was actually the rules are all right and they're fine, but I always, for some reason in my head, convinced myself that this was something that was played all at the same time, rather than someone take their actions like you would in thank you, Dominion and then move to the next person. And for some reason, my head got locked into that we're all doing it all at the same time. It's simultaneous. We're all doing it. And it was just, well, we're not supposed to be. We're supposed to be playing it. I do all my actions, do all my stuff, but my stuff and do the thing and moves on to the next person. So we played the slightly Yankee version that I got wrong. But I want to get it back out again and play it properly and play it again because I like a deck builder. I like dice. I don't know why it's one I never played enough of. And I think the reasoning was I never got the rules right because it never actually, it doesn't quite tell you. And it may be just me being stupid, or maybe overthinking it. But anyway, that's Quarriors. It is a good game. I have played it properly a few times, many years ago, but it's 2-player. But yeah, it's got dice, lots of dice in it. They did recently release a giant, massive collector's version of it, which I think was quite expensive. You go to eBay and you could. I picked up a set for £5, and I've seen them more expensive than that. But keep an eye on it. You might be able to pick some bargains up. So that another one that we dive into that this weekend just gone, which I haven't played again nearly enough. I was going to play Cosmic Encounter because I fucking love Cosmic Encounter. Have not played that in I don't know how long. It probably is getting into years now since I actually managed to really properly get it to the table. I also noticed while I was thinking about playing that was I have the Game of Thrones version of Cosmic Encounter. And as I've been recently watching House of the Dragon, as I know Jamie, Robbie and Tony are all Games of Thrones fans, I thought, you know what? Let's get out the Iron Throne, which is basically a retheme of the Cosmic Encounter, but the Game of Thrones, but it does tweak it a little bit. So we played that, and I got the expansion in there as well. Basic rundown of it, like Cosmic Encounter, actually, you essentially start with characters in front of you. These discs represent these characters. They're planets in Cosmic Encounter, and you have plastic crowns in this version that sit on them, which is your power. And the idea is you're essentially trying to do is the power represents the characters in the game. You have one leader, which has one special ability power, which is similar to Cosmic Encounter, has these different versions, kind of almost game-breaking versions of them. And you're using these and playing cards. You have a set of cards in your hand. Some of them allow you to attack people, some allow you to do things. If you're using that character in the fight, you can do stuff. And the idea is you're winning battles to then move your influence. You've got 5 or 6 bits of influence, these little tokens on the board that you've got to move off yours onto other boards. Once you get all of them off your board, then you win the game. This could potentially result in tie-break win situations where more than one person will do that at the same time, maybe through alliances and all that. Like Cosmic Encounter, it's all about the table talk and the threats and the promises and that. And a nice mechanism that's in this that Cosmic Encounter doesn't have is that you can take hostages. If you win like aggressive battles, certain battles or certain cards will allow you to take hostages, which is essentially taking cards off the other player's deck that you have in front of them. You hold them there. If they are the card that represents one of the player's characters or his leader, you can, on the start of a round, torture them. Essentially, you give the card back, but if it's a character card, what it will do is it will take the power off of that character. Or in the case of the leader, it will take the power off the leader card. Which is quite a good move because that power is countermount to you having some presence on the table. Sorry, right now. So that's how it works. Very similar to Cosmic Encounter with enough tweaks to it. Again, it's one I played a couple of times, but never really, for some reason, with just the tweaks of it, it didn't initially feel to play as smoothly as Cosmic. However, having sat down and playing it with the boys again the other night, we had like a learning game, and then we actually played it a second time straight after, because they enjoyed it. And we mixed up our characters and all that. And we banged out a game of that in about 45 minutes, about 45 minutes, which is pretty good going for that. And it's almost, it's got enough meat and the stuff going on in that to make that interesting. Now, I've got the expansion in there that I initially didn't use it in the first play, although there's a deck of cards and some more characters. The characters are in, but the actual deck of cards I didn't use. So I put them in the second play, and they're kind of like OP cards that you have one at the start of the game that just does something really naughty and game breaking, and you can earn them instead of other stuff, like the reward deck in Cosmic if you played that during the game. And that was a nice, just sped things up a little bit. So yeah, all things considered, I really enjoyed actually that. It was nice to get to the table and play a Cosmic-y vibe, and it works very well. I would be, that's probably not going to happen, but the other theming that would probably sit very nicely on this style of game would be Dune. would be a good, just putting it out there, just throwing it out there. They could almost take this implementation of it, tweak it a bit, and you could have a Dune Cosmic Encounter. Just saying, just thinking about it, just racked into my brain the second time. Which, more Dune, always a good thing. So anyway, yes, there you go. There is all of that. That was good for Game of Thrones. The Iron Throne, I think it is. It's down there over there on the floor. I'm pretty certain that's how it is. You can still get it. I don't think it was a massive hit for FFG when it came out. And I remember picking the expansion up relatively cheap because it kind of hung around a bit. But it's nice. It's a nice pack. If you can get both of those together, or even the base set for a song, sub 30 quid, you're probably under a good deal if you don't own Cosmic Encounter and you like Game of Thrones. I'd say that now. The only critique I would say of it is the crowns. They nest into each other, which is all well and nice. It's aesthetically very cool. But the idea is you're supposed to be able to see how many of them are stacked. Now in Cosmic, you get the flying saucers, which is really cool, and they're very easy at a glance to see and go, there's 5 of them. But these fucking grounds, it's really hard to go. And so at every point in time, we're always a bit like poker chips. We're always going, you got 5, you got 6. So yeah, aesthetically a cool look, functionally fucking useless. Anyway, there you go. That's Game of Thrones: The Iron Throne. And then we wrapped up the other night after we played that actually with a game of Spartacus, a game of blood and something, or blood and sand or something. Love Spartacus. It's Scaleforce. So they've just recently brought it back out in a reprint, actually, of the base game. With, I think, all they've really done is cosmetically changed. It's all now art in there. It's not got the images from the actual show. But I think other than that, it's mechanically pretty much the same. It hasn't got the expansions content, and they haven't put it out yet. Whether they will or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's a cracking game. It's very amateurish. It's a real beer and pretzels game. It's fucking brilliant. It's Gale Force 9 when they were firing on all cylinders, actually, to be fair, with their licensed stuff. It's real simple stuff. You have your Ludus. It's based on the first season, the only season worth watching other than the prequel series. Spartacus, I'll just put that there now. We've covered this before. Brilliantly ridiculous show. You all have a Ludus, you control the gladiator school, and the idea of the game is you're basically buying slaves and gladiators. But the cool concept is, and you have decks of cards that you can use to fuck with everyone else, because this all game is very much the take that game. Everything is all about fucking each other over at any given opportunity. You have a market, you buy equipment for your gladiators, or buy more gladiators, or slaves, or whatever you're going to get. And then you have, in the third round of the game, you have these fights, these arena battles, with loads of fucking lashings of dice. Essentially, you are Baxter. You want to go out? Come here. Come on. Come here. So yeah, you have lashings of these dice. It's basically a blue, black, and red dice, and on the gladiators or the slaves, whoever's in the arena fight, red is their attack, blue is their movement speed, and black is their defense. And essentially, what happens is you'll get that hand fistful of dice, depending on how many each of them have got on each of these characters. And at the start of the game, you roll the blue dice. That gives you the speed, the initiative. So whoever gets the highest will go first, or has the choice between first or second. And then it's basically you run around using the movement to move in, and you swat each other. You roll your red dice. Anything above a 3 is a hit. Guy defending rolls the black dice. You match them against each other, highest down to lowest. Anything you match, you block, you cancel out. Anything that gets through unblocked will be a hit. And that's pretty much it. And as you get hit and you get wounded, depending on the size of the hit, you have to lose dice. You will have to pick what dice you lose out of your pool. So you will pick between those. You drop your attack or your defense or your movement. And that goes until someone wins the fight or someone gets their head chopped off or whatever. And it's very simple. It's wildly unbalanced. It's a real fuck each other over game. Lots of naughtiness all the way through it all, and has this great, simple but fun arena combat thing. Brilliant. It's firmly one of my favourites. And I should play it more. I've played it a lot, but I've almost forgot. And I've got the expansions in there as well, which is the Shadow of Death expansion, which is the giant fucking dude that is nuts. Adds Primus rules where you can have like 4 player battles in the arenas, and so they're kind of cool, but not essential. But yeah, really good game. If you don't own it, find the original. What? Can you not see I'm fucking doing something? Honestly. Really? What are you going to do? You're going to go out? So yeah, wildly fun. Spartacus, Gale Force 9. It's recently been reprinted. Cracking bit of fun. just trashy and marrow drash, rolly dice, punchy, stabby. Can't go far wrong from that. Let us do some news.
Here is the news.
So news, there's not much news, if I'm honest with you. I did scan around. I'll go through some bits in a minute. News, why worthy for us, who does Rosie news, is that I am going to move the website this month or next month. This month. So I've got to look and find something because they sent the bill for this year's website hosting. It was utterly ridiculous. So I've seen a couple of deals for relatively cheap, so we've got money in the Patreon fund. So I think I've seen one for about 4 years hosting for relatively reasonable. So I'm going to have to do that at some point. I've never done that for a long time. I would imagine it's quite straightforward in these days and quite simplistic, I hope, because I want to keep hold of the email address as well. So I'll be doing that at some point. Because I felt about, do I keep the website? It's got a lot of written stuff on it. If you've never been to the website, the whodosrolls.com website. On it has a lot of written reviews. Some from me, a significant amount from Charlie, on RPG stuff and other bits, and articles, and all sorts of stuff. It used to have the podcast on there, but it was linked to something else. It wasn't hosted on that site. And I think the podcast has kind of migrated into the ether because I cancelled the hosting of the actual podcast itself, some time back, because it was expensive and we weren't doing it anymore. So I think the podcast may in some capacity been lost now to time and history. I don't know if it's out there somewhere you can find it. Maybe it was on iTunes and all that. I possibly can still hear it. I don't know how it works, but yeah, so that might still be out there. But anyway, there's a lot of written stuff and a lot of stuff. The video reviews are going on there. I personally haven't had the time really to even go on there and write stuff. I used to enjoy writing, but it took me a while. And Charlie himself has been tied up with doing other stuff. He's just put a podcast out actually about Star Trek. We'll put that out later on. Anyway, long story short, Ramble is I for the minute I think I'll keep it because I want the domain for the email anyway because I use that mostly for all sorts of stuff now. So it would be handy to have that still. And it's nice to have the website presence, even though maybe, we don't do much of it at the moment, but there's an opportunity and maybe people may find us via that. I don't know. These things are a mystery to me. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to move the website hosting, which may be a lot of talk about something which is going to be relatively straightforward and 3 clicks. Who knows? Or it would be a dramatic disaster. Watch this space. What else is going on? Spiel, of course, is coming up. Visa Spiel is coming. And now, I did, for a brief moment, you've come back in and laid down. I've got the door open. I'm in a blast, a draft. You're an absolute fool. Talking to the dog. So Spiel's happening. I did go away and for a brief moment entertained the thought of actually going through and giving you my thoughts and feelings and what my picks for Spiel. And I go to BGG and then I look, there's 900 odd entries, I think roughly, 900 games being released to Spiel on the BGG listing for it. And I did start and about I was like, Jesus fucking wept. So I didn't really do much. I did see a few things just on my brief flick of when I did do. There was War of the Ring card games coming out, which was at Expo, never got a chance to sit down and play it. I'm fascinated how that's going to work, really, just because I've never actually played the board game War of the Ring. But I like the concept of it, I like the idea of it. It's one I've always entertained with. The thought of a card game is a cheaper version of it, and if it plays as well or something similar and it gets the story over and you can enjoy it, then I'm entertained by the prospect. So I see. That's our spiel. Origins, Ancient Wonders, an expansion to Origins for board and dice. I quite enjoyed Origins. So an expansion to that is kind of interesting to me. Terra Nova is one I wrote down on here. Oh yeah, so Terra Nova is basically Terra Mystica but kind of streamlined down. I don't know, I quite like Terra Mystica, so I don't know if I'm on board for that. My Shelf here was another one I saw just out of interest. I think I remember seeing something about that a while ago. And then I kind of gave up because there's lots of stuff on there. I'll deal with the Devil from CGE. Looks kind of interesting, the designer of Alchemist. So anyway, Spiel's happening. I mean, there's no point me listening. I'm not going to Spiel, and I'm thinking about it now, to be honest with you. I don't think I've played or owned any of last Spiels. big things. I know Gollum was big last year. Never played it. Not, and buzz has died off really on that one. Actually, I don't even see a whole lot of buzz about it. As one I was interested in, and then so yeah, I don't see the point in getting too excited about it because let's be honest, last spiel may have done a bit about it, but it hasn't rocked my world. So there's stuff coming out. If anything really thrilling comes out the back end of that, then obviously we can go, oh, there's that, and maybe I might come across it or pick it up. But we'll see. I'm like, yeah. Because that's a good idea. There's some board game journalism for you. I can't be asked because I'm not interested. So see Pendragon Games, the guys who did The Thing board game started last year on Kickstarter. I've now got it. I've announced a long time ago they were going to do it, but they've now put up the page for the Escape from New York board game. Very little on it at the moment, just kind of gives you a feel for it. But if you sign up now for follow it at this point, you get a Donald Pleasance miniature when you pledge. Anyway, so there's that. So that looks fun. It's designed by Kevin Wilson, I think it is. He's done a lot of stuff. He did Runebound Second Edition and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles board game. He's done a chunk of stuff. He's a good pedigree of design of decent stuff and licensed stuff. Escape from New York is something I love. It's another John Carpenter classic. It's John Carpenter. I need to continue my John Carpenter board game collection. So I'm very interested. The Thing was fairly decent, actually. It had some wiggly rules. The biggest issue with The Thing is really, and I still haven't had an opportunity to do it, is play it at the higher player count, because I think that's where it shined. They sold it as a 4-2 something or other, or even a solo player. I can't remember. It doesn't really work at the lower player counts. It really needs more players in there to really get it. But it was a decent stab of the actual design and theme and stuff, and actually it was pretty good. So I'm on board with Wilson being involved in design as well. And it doesn't want a Snake Plissken minifigure. I mean, with a Big Trouble and Little China one to go together. The only thing that makes me think about this is that there was the They Live Kickstarter a couple of years back now, and I thought the game has been delivered to backers, but I've not seen any further buzz on that. I've not seen anything else on that. And I haven't even seen it in retail or anything go anywhere. And it's one actually I meant to chase up and pick up, and I completely fell off my radar. Did anyone get They Live? Is it any good? I think it was Black Ink at the same time as The Thing. I can't remember. There was a reason why I didn't do it, because there was one or the other. But anyway, yeah. Did anyone did They Live? Did you see it? Is it available? Might have a look around later on. It's John Carpenter. We love John Carpenter. So there you go. That's the news. That is the news. Watched stuff. Well, I've watched some John Carpenter stuff recently. I watched Scotland Precinct 13 the other day and some other bits. I was listening to, I think, a podcast or something. I don't remember. Anyway, John Carpenter's always good to watch, especially his early output. But I also watched For Love and Thunder, which was a bit of a mess. I found it was bizarre. It tried too hard to be funny at the start, and there was some bits of it just really outstayed their welcome, including the Matt Damon and Melissa McCarthy bit, which just was like, why are we doing this again? And then the second half tried to be a bit more drama. I don't know. It was a weird, tonally a bit of a mess. Hemsworth's brilliant anyway. They're all good. The cast is great. And some of it was genuinely funny. But Russell Crowe, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Jesus, that accent. But on the whole, Ragnarok was pretty good, and this was just, I don't know, it was weird. I'm glad I didn't pay to go and see it at the cinema. It was all right, but yeah, it was. I do love Waititi. He's a director, he's great, and I love a lot of his stuff. What We Do in the Shadows is fantastic. I know he's been linked to a Star Wars project, and this is always my concern, is like, I don't think Star Wars can do that type of humour funny. I don't know. I can't. It doesn't quite gel for me. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to rein it back. But anyway, this, if you've got Disney Plus, then watch it, or if you've already watched it. It was what it was. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It looked gorgeous, but yeah, just a bit of a missed up. Christian Bale was pretty good, actually, to be fair. He was, other than, I would have just liked him to be the bad guy and not have to redeem his arc towards the end of the story. Spoilers. But actually, at moments, some of his stuff was generally quite, I can see, scary, especially as kids are going to watch this. So I thought he was quite good. But in a different movie to what everyone else was in. Kind of. Anyway, yeah, so there's Thor: Love and Thunder. I watched that. I watched Top Gun Maverick the other day, which was... Oh, I forget it. Top Gun Maverick, yeah, the other day, which was right. It's fun. It's entertaining. Good action movie. What to say? Cruise is, doing as crazy fucking bastard and flying jets and stuff. It was ridiculous, utterly ludicrous, and it turned into Star Wars for the last half of the movie, and some ludicrous fucking stupidity going on there. But you know what? It was all right. It was brain dead entertainment and insane. I would have probably been quite good to see at the cinema just what they did in it, but it was solid. It was good. It was what it was. Watching Lord of the Ring. Oh, I'm gonna have to fucking slap the dog. Hold that thought. Yes. So Top Gun we did. Game of Thrones. Started watching House of the Dragon. I'm quite enjoying that actually. It's taken a while. I'm on the third episode. Just watched that. But it's different. It is Game of Thrones, but it's not Game of Thrones, I suppose is the thing to say. I think the only thing in its detriment to a point is there isn't any of... If you watch the first episode of Game of Thrones, no spoilers now. I mean, if you've not watched that, then so be it. But by the end of the first episode, you've uncovered Cersei and Jaime's incestuous relationship, which is kind of like a real zig when you think it's going to zag. And they've tossed Bran out of a window and crippled him. And, there's not been any of those sort of like, whoa, fuck, that happened type thing. And that was kind of a Game of Thrones thing where it would always... What it was brilliant idea was that it would always totally undermine fantasy tropes and where you thought it was going to go in standard fantasy story and lore and stuff, then didn't repeatedly. And, with killing off the characters and other stuff, just constantly was rug pull, which was fantastic, but it was his downfall towards the end because sooner or later it was going to have to funnel its way back into actually the standard fantasy tropes. To be fair to the record, I quite enjoyed the whole of it in the end. Yes, some of the later seasons were a little bit crazy in how it was skipping all over the place. Like, what? How's Varys doing that? Half stoning across the map. Things like that were stupid, and just everything was kind of... It felt it was rushed towards the end. But, other than that, I dig what happened at the end. I won't spoil that in case you've not watched it, but it didn't come as a surprise to me what happened at the end. I'll say that much. Anyway, back to the House of the Dragon. What it is doing is it has some time jumps in the episodes, and it kind of says, they pretty much just say, well, the last 2 years have been terrible, and you go, oh, okay, we've jumped forward 2 years. So, and I know that there's some casting changes as the season goes on, well, the characters changing out, which is kind of cool, and it's a different thing. So maybe it's telling you more of a longer form thing, which would be interesting to see how that plays out. But it looks good. They've thrown some money at it. It certainly looks good. It's doing what Game of Thrones always did: blood, guts, violence, swearing, occasional stupid exploitive nudity, and all the good fun and sex and violence and everything. And it's doing that a bit too much, maybe, of sitting around in rooms and discussing stuff at the moment. But I've hopes, and I think it's probably it may pan out to be all right. I haven't read the book, so I don't know what's coming. I'm quite enjoying the journey. Amazon's Rings of Power, I've watched those 3 of them, is there now? That's getting better. I must admit, when I watched the first couple, I was a bit trippy. But it definitely seems to be finding its feet. I mean, again, ridiculous. I mean, yes, they've spent like $1 billion or whatever the fucking money on the thing is, so it should look good, and it does look sumptuous. It looks gorgeous, and it does actually look good. I found a lot of digital shot stuff, and a lot of, especially like Netflix and all this sort of stuff, and a lot of Amazon stuff. I always felt a bit flat, it didn't have depth like a film, whereas this does feel like a film. So yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a bit fast moving maybe, but I think it's starting to find its feet. I don't dislike it. It's good. So there's that. I think I watched that. I have probably been watching some other shitty, crappy movies that I can't remember, and that's probably it actually. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. Anyway, that is everything for the time being. Obviously, God save the Queen. Well, she's dead now. Shit. Well, obviously, this weekend is the funeral. It's Bank Holiday Monday. If you're off, jolly good, enjoy that. I sadly will not be off. Well, not sadly. As the NHS keeps on rolling on, I've been working it. But yeah, hopefully we were contemplating maybe a TI4 game on Sunday night, because everyone else has got the Monday off. I, however, don't have that luxury, but still might, TI, maybe it's a possibility. So we might be playing that, because, and in which case I've got these guys to get in actually, the Council Cerealis or Cellus or whatever it is. They were the latest codex. I had the posh, professionally printed version of it. Lovely. So I've got the cards to sleeve actually. Now we can throw that into the mix. Might play a bit of that. Other than that, enjoy your weekend, whatever you are doing, the best you can, and we'll be back soon with more of this. Maybe not so long between next time. Hopefully, we'll see. But for the time being, look after yourself, have fun, enjoy playing board games and stuff, and I'll be back soon. Yes, I'll be doing that. Ta-ta, farewell, good night, and all that.